Hello. In this session, we will discuss drafting helpful recommendations, as well as General Standard 7, learner support, and General Standard 8, accessibility and usability. Please remember to refer to your How to Write Helpful Recommendations infographic. Remember that helpful recommendation is broken down into two parts: evidence and suggestions for improvement. In previous exercises, we've worked on finding evidence and making a decision. Now we're going to cover the last step, which is writing helpful recommendations and writing suggestions for improvement. Suggestions for improvement are where the time you invested finding evidence in the course pays off. You do this by writing a recommendation that will help your colleague, the course representative, and help their learners have a quality online learning experience. We always encourage you to write a suggestion for improvement even if the specific review standard is met. This may be the only time that anyone gets a chance to review the course in depth, so feedback and suggestions for improvement are very important to the instructor. But remember, reviewers are required to provide evidence for all specific review standards regardless of decision. You may have suggestions for improvement that are not listed as examples in the annotations, but are consistent with the specific review standard. In this, your online teaching and design experience is a part of the value you bring to the review and the feedback for the course rep or colleague. Always consider if your suggestion is your preference or a suggestion that is consistent with the annotations. So take a second to open your books to specific review standard 1.8 and briefly read that standard and its annotations. Now, go ahead and read the suggestion that's in front of you and decide whether that's a preference or aligned. So as you can tell, based on the annotation and rubric, this is a preference. Now, let's take a look at another suggestion for improvement. And using specific review standard 1.8 and its annotation, let's decide if this is a preference or aligned. Correct. This is aligned. The suggestion for improvement is aligned with the annotation in specific review standard 1.8. So, ensure that you're reviewing the specific review standard, the annotation, and course evidence when we're thinking about making these suggestions for improvement. These decisions should not be based on personal preference. Remember that we've already focused on specific review standards, annotations, and course evidence throughout these sessions with hands-on practice. So now we're going to explain more about the 5 characteristics incorporated into a suggestion for improvement. The Q&A review depends on the rich, robust feedback that is compiled for the instructor and the course rep. This image emphasizes the characteristics of a suggestion for improvement. A review team's recommendations are key to the success of a review. A decision of not met on a specific review standard is not helpful without suggestions for improvement. If a course's rated does not meet expectations, the instructor or the course rep will want to know how to improve the course so they will receive meets expectation ratings. So first we have constructive. To be constructive, a suggestion for improvement must include 2 parts. First, you must identify areas for improvement based on the annotation and evidence. Second, you must offer solutions to improve the course, derived from the annotation and evidence. Next, you have specific. Suggestions for improvement are explicit about what might be improved, where it might be improved, and how it might be improved. It's not just enough to say, do this, add a statement, or fix that. Be specific with the evidence you observe, the suggestions you make for improvement, and how to implement those suggestions. Remember, what, where, and how. Followed by measurable. Suggestions for improvement describe observable changes to the course. Measurable statements begin with an action verb describing a change that can be observed. For example, a suggestion to improve the grading policy is not measurable because improvement can't be easily observed or measured. However, suggesting that the course rep insert a grading scale in both points and percentages can easily be observed as an improvement to the course. Next, your suggestion for improvement must be sensitive. You want to use professional language and address the course rep as a colleague. The suggested improvement does so without being overly sensitive to obscure a need for change. Lastly, your helpful suggestion must be balanced. Helpful suggestions for improvement point out both areas for improvement and meaningful strengths when appropriate. A meaningful strength adds value to the course, and if removed, will make the course less effective. It's not necessary to point out strengths in every recommendation, only for the sake of attaining balance. Remember, point out meaningful strengths when it is appropriate to do so. Remember, QM is about collaboration. Colleagues are helping colleagues. It's not about critiquing or grading the course representative's work. We all benefit from sharing ideas. Therefore, keep in mind, no online course is perfect, not even yours. Write recommendations that convey advice to a colleague.